Hi, this is Ken Bilberg with Bilberg Accounting Inc. in Cape Coral, Florida. Congratulations on getting your PPP loan. I know it was difficult, but you got it done. Sadly, it's going to be even harder to get it forgiven, and you're going to have to really pay attention during the exact 8 weeks after you're funded. Otherwise, you could find out that some of what you borrowed is not forgivable and you'll have to pay it back, even though it's at a 1% interest. So here's what we do know about the forgiveness. That it is based on the employer maintaining or quickly rehiring employees and maintaining salary levels. So the forgiveness will be reduced if the headcount declines or if salaries and wages decline beyond a certain point. So the only safe bet at this moment is for you, if you had 7 employees that were full-time and 2 part-time employees, during this 8-week period, you need to maintain 7 full-time employees and 2 part-time employees. You need to maintain basically the same payroll levels, so you don't want to increase your pay. We don't know if you are allowed to increase the pay for employees. We don't know if battle pay, so to speak, for frontline employees added to your payroll will qualify as part of the forgiveness or not. So until we know for sure, all we can tell you is have the same employees, same number of employees that is, paid at pretty much the same rate. All right, I want to give you a quick example of just how the numbers work for the forgiveness, because you're going to need to keep a spreadsheet as you go along of what you're doing so that you know you're on target for getting this forgiven. So in our example here, we have a small company with loan proceeds in the amount of $28,693. In order for the payroll portion to be forgiven, we know that the payroll, the forgivable part of the payroll, has to equal at least 75% minimum in order to be forgiven, which in our example here is $21,520. So, what's forgivable? Well, I'm going to show you a quick example of one little paycheck so you can kind of follow the numbers so you can see the difference between what you're going to have to pay and what will be forgiven. So here we are. We've just got funded for our PPP loan. It's our first payroll ever since we got the money, and we're sitting down to fill out our paycheck and our paycheck stub. So we have our employee, our whopping gross pay of $100. We know we have to subtract Social Security tax, both the FICA and the Medicare. We know the FICA is 6.2% and the Medicare is 1.45. This also brings up the issue that the most amount of payroll they will forgive is payroll paid at a rate of $100,000 or more. So if you have anybody on payroll who's making over $100,000, only the annualized amount under $100,000 will be covered. You can, however, add the non-money compensation items that you pay that person if they're not a shareholder, and we'll get to those things in a minute. In our example here, the $100 minus the Social Security tax, and of course federal withholding, because they need your money, we're going to assume this individual is paying $2 per paycheck. That means his net pay is $90.35. So here's our employee getting a check for $90.35. But that's not where things are finished for us. We know we have, as employers, some employer costs. We know that we have to match the FICA and the Medicare. So we know that we have to add $6.20, and we have to add another $1.45. We don't, of course, match the federal withholding. We know that we have to pay state unemployment tax. Let's assume for a minute that's just $2 on this particular check. And we know we have to pay federal unemployment. And I'm going to assume that's $1, just so we have some numbers on the board. Now the state unemployment we pay quarterly, the federal unemployment we generally pay annually unless we're a large employer. We also have workman's compensation that we pay perhaps, maybe this is $10 on this particular paycheck. Qualified group medical insurance If you have a qualifying plan for the employees, not the owner shareholders, that would be able to be added in for forgiveness. And so is any kind of group retirement. That's also added. So that dollar amount as well, again, only applies to employees. It doesn't apply to owner-operators. So as we track this, we have two different things. We have the part of this that will be forgiven, and we have the part that will be something that we have to actually pay, our out-of-pocket cost. So what are we going to actually pay out? We're going to pay out, of course, the payroll check when it clears. To IRS, we're going to have to turn in the $6.20, the $1.45, and the federal withholding. We are also going to have to turn in our matching funds, the $6.20, the $1.45. We know that we are going to have to pay at the end of the quarter the $2 for the state unemployment tax, the $1 for the federal unemployment tax, and the $10 in the workman's comp. Also the group medical insurance and the group retirement. But what portion of this is actually forgivable? Well, the gross pay here of $100. The state unemployment. So of that total, the forgivable portion is $102. What are we actually paying out? $120.60. So that is your cost that will not be forgiven and cannot be applied against the 75%. So here's my best suggestion to you. The minute you get that PPP loan, you get it into that separate account. You get out a spreadsheet and you list all of the gross pays for all of your employees. You have 8 columns on that sheet if you're a weekly payer. You want to make sure your gross pays add up to at least 75% of the amount of the advance. Don't change the owner-operator's payroll from what it is during the prior year in 2019. Again, I don't know if you can change the employees. Don't have less employees. You're probably okay if you have more employees. You're allowed to use anywhere between 75% and 100% of this amount on the payroll. But again, we don't know if that covers any kind of combat pay that you might want to pay or bonus pay that you might want to pay that you don't normally pay. We'll just have to wait for some actual official guidance on that. So once you've done your spreadsheet and you see that you are going to have enough of these gross pays to cover 75%, well, that means that we still have 25% of this money left over. Well, we'd like that forgiven too. What are we allowed to spend it on? Well, we can spend it on commercial rent. We can spend it on utilities. Utilities are defined as gas, electric, water, telephone, and internet. As far as telephone goes, we have no guidance about whether a cell phone is part of telephone expense. We just don't know. If you don't pay commercial rent, but you instead have a mortgage on your commercial location, you're allowed to use the commercial interest, but not the commercial principal. So in a perfect world, you pay out all your payroll, using up at least 75%, and the remainder you're able to cover out of those allowable items. My best suggestion to you is that you do these spreadsheets every week and you keep an eye on where it's going and make sure that you've got the right amount to pay out. I don't believe if you have past due rent and you pay that that'll be part of the forgiveness, part of the 25%, but that's a guess. I am going to assume that only those bills that come due during that 8-week period will be deductible. So what does that mean for us? It means, well, we probably want to have our bank statements in hand at the end of the 8 weeks. As soon as you hit that one day after, want to have our bank statements or printouts from the bank of the activity. We probably have to turn in the little photocopies of the canceled checks. We're probably going to have to turn in a copy of our commercial lease. We're probably going to have to turn in the actual utility bills, so you want to make sure those utility bills are in the name of the corporation and not in your name personally accidentally. So make sure you do the math. I think there's a lot of people that are going to be surprised I think there's a lot of people that are going to find out that their payroll, if they weren't paying attention, would have probably been limited because of things you can't include, that it would have stopped around that 70, 71, 72%. So make sure you hit the numbers right if you want it all to be forgiven. Also, please don't delay. The minute that 8 weeks is up, you want to contact the bank because you want to go ahead and sign the affidavit that you've used the money correctly and that you've complied with the law and shown up with all of your proof. You want to get this thing forgiven as soon as possible. If you have any other questions, please give us a call. Our number, 239-540-4433. Thanks so much. Appreciate your time.